Okay, we are recording now. So welcome everybody. My name is Jamie and I am here with other volunteers and staff from Refugee Assistance Alliance. And we are lucky to have two of our co-leaders on one of our community sponsorship teams to share with us about their experience. So Lonnie and Taylor, could you please tell us a little bit about yourselves and your background before RAA?
Sure, I'll go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Maher. And yes, I'm a co-lead with Lonnie on a CST team. We've been helping an Afghan family resettle here in Miami. Before RAA, and I guess currently now, I am the recruiter for the South Florida territory with Peace Corps. Before this position, I was in Guatemala as a Peace Corps volunteer. From February 2018 until March 2020. I will also add that I'm newer to Miami. I moved here in December 2020 from suburbs of Chicago. That's where I was born and raised. But happy to be here and have loved my experience with RAA and getting to know Miami as a whole. So thank you so much, and over to Lonnie.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks, Taylor. For those of you just joining, just to preface, I apologize. I have COVID, and those of you that have had it, brain fog. So if I'm not completely with it, I apologize. So I'm Lonnie. I've been in Miami with my husband and my dog for almost 9 years now. And I do digital marketing as my work, but I wanted to really get involved with the community and give back. And I found Taste of Syria, like what, 5 years ago, Kristen, maybe 6 years ago. So I attended that, met Kristen, and then just have been with RAA since the beginning, mostly working with Syrian families. And then, yeah, it's been an amazing experience. And this, with the Afghan refugees, it was a completely different experience, I think, than working with the Syrian families. And yeah, and we'll talk about that more later.
Yeah, you are certainly right about that, Lonnie. There have been a lot of new things to learn, a lot of challenges, a lot of fun learning a new culture, but the situation for the Afghans was both politically different, culturally different, and of course, for those of you doing the volunteer work, it was different too, and we'll talk a little more about that. So the first question I have for both of you is, did your team know each other before becoming a community sponsorship team? How did you come to RAA? So you can talk, you mentioned both a little bit already, how you came to RAA. And so mostly, how did you come to this team? Did you know each other before?
We did not. Well, Helene, one of our volunteers, she's on the call as well. She and I, we didn't know each other. We are members of the Rotary Club of Coconut Grove. And we heard that RAA was starting up and helping Afghan families resettle in Miami. And so we wanted, I mean, there was a lot of returning Peace Corps volunteers and other Rotary members that wanted to get involved. And I just mentioned that I had met with Kristen at one point and knew about RAA and wanted to get involved also. And so we signed up, and I said, yes, I don't mind being a leader. And then we were paired up with some other volunteers, and no, I did not know Lonnie. I didn't know that I was going to be a co-lead. And that ended up being really great as well. Maybe we'll talk about that later, but everyone else on the team, we're brand new, and now we're new friends, which is great.
That's awesome. Anything you'd like to add to that, Lonnie? Because it was a lot of meeting new people.
Yeah. Oh, I just want to also speak on behalf of Helene. She's she also has COVID and is at home. So I don't know if she's well enough to speak, but yeah, so with this project, I was also asked to be a team lead. I got a little overwhelmed at first, and then asked, you know, because we were both put in smaller teams, and then Kristen came up with the suggestion of, oh, maybe combining teams to have more people to be able to support. And I thought that was awesome, to be able to co-lead with Taylor, because we both could bring different things to the table. For example, like I share a car with my husband and I work 9 to 5 at home, so I couldn't do a lot of the driving type stuff, where other team members could. And then what I brought is I could be at home making more of the like scheduling appointments and things like that. So I think that was helpful that the different team members could offer different things for the family.
Yeah, and we've since learned that it really is best practice to have co-leads, and bigger teams. Bigger teams are easier said than done because that requires having enough volunteers, but I'm glad it worked out. And it is definitely a helpful thing to have co-leads for sure. Okay, so what do you remember about the first time you met your matched family? Can you tell us a little bit about them and that first experience?
Sure. So I've been thinking about the first time we met them a lot lately because our family is actually moving out of the state very soon. This coming week, they'll be leaving and going to a different state, starting their life there, which is very exciting for them. But I've just been reflecting and thinking about everything and thinking back on that first day that we all met. Jamie, you were there, right? And Adriana was there. And the kids were super energetic, especially the daughter. We all got to know her very well. And I mean, that was just a preview. That wasn't even her full capacity of energy. So that was a lot of fun. And I could tell the mother had a lot on her plate, and we learned so much about her as time went on. But I could already tell that we had kind of a lot in front of us with her. But that the kids were going to be a lot of fun, and I was going to have a lot of fun getting to know the family in general. So yeah, looking back on it, I kind of cherish that moment because it was kind of like a preview to what we had in store for the next 6 months.
I remember the messy art all over the floor. Like,
Yes.
there was something someone brought, which was great, but they cut up and it was like we turned the room into little pieces of paper. Yeah. Lonnie?
Yeah, no, it was such a great first meeting. I mean, just the overall warmth and vibe that you got from just all of our team being there and meeting them, and the kids. I mean, I can't even describe how cute they are. I'll miss them.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about how, as team leaders, you went about organizing and encouraging your team to divide and conquer. Lonnie, you are probably too humble to say this, but not only were you part of our pilot program, where you worked with a Syrian family and you helped tell us what worked and what didn't, and what we should throw out and what we should keep and what we should tweak. You also had a really great way of doing things organizationally during that. And then you're so organized and you came up with an amazing system for your team. Also, Taylor, with your video chats. So can you, and your leadership with that, can you tell us, how did you go about organizing and encouraging your team to divide and conquer tasks?
I can start. So I created a spreadsheet, basically with different tabs. The main thing with like all of the contact information, links to important documents. Most recently created a tab with all of the family's information and healthcare information, because, you know, through WhatsApp, I feel like things can kind of get lost through just WhatsApp alone. So it's nice to have a document that shows everything in one place. And then the most important tab was the immediate needs. And it would say, you know, this doctor's appointment or this, and then who's in charge of that task. And then different like notes area saying like when it was scheduled for, any problems. And then once the task was completed, I would move it down to the very bottom of the page with a different color coding. So yeah.
So you could see everything that had been done in the past.
Yes.
But then focus on what was recent. And you had the information of the teammates in there too, I think, right?
Yes. And I think that's a good thing to like if a team is starting out, looking back, I think like that would have been a good thing to get on a Zoom call and go over in person and kind of outline expectations from, and time commitment, who is available and when. And another thing, we talked about having a healthcare lead and an education lead, but we kind of didn't stick to that. We all just kind of did whatever. So looking back, I think that would be a good thing to like really carve out those leads for those particular ones that were very difficult.
Yeah, you bring up a good point because we've noticed that teams are successful in different ways. Some of them really divide up by topic, like you just said, healthcare, education. And some of them divide up by dates. Some of them divide up by time. And some of them just divide up by, okay, who's available? Who can do this one? And we've seen success in many different ways, but it's all a form of organization and communication. So we've realized it's more about the organization and the communication than the actual way that you do it. Yeah, Taylor, can you tell us a little bit about your leadership and how you helped organize and divide up tasks?
Sure. And yeah, kind of just going off of what Lonnie just mentioned, how, at the very beginning, we did put, people that were going to focus on one topic or the other. But then it did end up, like Lonnie said, kind of being all of us. But what I also noticed, what I think was really helpful was that all of us had different connections, or all of us had different resources or ways to add into like every single topic. So like it wasn't just one person leading the health stuff. It was maybe that person plus two others. And then same thing with the education stuff. And I think that ended up working really well, even though, it seems a lot more organized if you just have that one person focusing on it. But with our team, we noticed this too, like the majority of our team is a bit younger, especially like if we were comparing it to the other returned Peace Corps team that had a group. They were all older and retired and had more free time than us. But I do work from home, so I did have a lot of flexibility in my schedule to, drive the family places, drive them to appointments and take them out and things like that. But if something couldn't get done, we always communicated this either via email or via our WhatsApp chat. And multiple members just had so many different resources and connections. And I think those community connections are so important and so key to having a successful group. And then another big piece to our success was that one of our volunteers identifies as an Afghan refugee as well. She came here in the early 2000s with her family, and she spoke the language almost exactly to the family that we were helping. So she was able to communicate with them one-on-one and relay the information to us, which helped so much. It helped immensely. So just being able to navigate all of our skills, I think, was what kept us on the path of success.
Yeah. So like a skills mapping of sorts. And then you had, like you mentioned, your spreadsheet, which is amazing. And then you had your WhatsApp chat where not only did you fill each other in and troubleshoot, I noticed, because I get to be on the chat and just see that whoever was hanging out with the family shared pictures, which I thought was so cool because we have to be careful. We don't want to share pictures of the family in a way publicly that's inappropriate, but sharing with your team was great. Did you do that on purpose or did it just kind of happen?
I did that on purpose. I mean, whenever we were doing something, I would take photos. I'm a type of person, like if I do meet up with someone, if I go do something, I'm always taking pictures anyway. But I just wanted to fill everyone in. Just like how we update each other on the medical stuff or the school stuff, registration, paperwork. I want everyone to know about the fun stuff we're doing too. And there were a few times where one of our volunteers, if they were helping the family with a document or helping them figure out automated pay or something like that, they would take a picture in that moment too and send it to us.
And we also had a separate WhatsApp chat that you guys aren't on with Asma. So we would share photos with her and she would share with us too. So
that's great. That's great. So Lonnie, do you feel like your team focused more on practical needs relationship building, or both? And then Taylor, what do you think was the outcome of how you focused?
So I would say that I was focused, I'm like, I love organization and stuff. And so I was focused more on the back end, like making sure tracking doctor's appointments, all of that stuff. But thank God, partnered with Taylor, because Taylor and Helene brought the fun and making sure, that every single weekend, someone was doing something with the family, and the kids were out exploring Miami and having fun and getting to experience the beach for the first time here and swimming in Helene's pool. So yeah, just very grateful.
And I think this is where like our experiences as being returned Peace Corps volunteers kind of comes in. I know it's not like a direct correlation, but us having that experience of going to a different country and being like the odd man out or the odd person out. Oh, Kristen too, sorry, you're a return volunteer. Anyone else is a return volunteer kind of knows, like if your host family brings you somewhere, you make a friend in the community and they bring you to like, the fun spot in town or the fun restaurant or like a certain food that you need to try. Like that was like the most fun part of Peace Corps, like really getting to know the culture and the people and making friends that way. And so I wanted to kind of replicate that for this family so that they could understand and get to know the United States, but also really get to know Miami, because Miami is so different, such a unique city compared to any other place in the United States. And I think the outcome of all of these things that we just brought up was, we had the organizational part, which was really key and really important to getting those immediate needs accomplished. And then also making sure that, the family understood and saw the fun aspects of life that there are. So that maybe they could be distracted from, being upset about whatever situation or, how hard it is to move. And try and give them, a group of friends that they could rely on if they needed something.
Yeah. Kristen, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to chime in to say like that fun piece of it cannot be underestimated, because I know we all know on this call how much work there is to be done, vaccines and school enrollment and the laundry list of things that need to happen, and that volunteers have very, very limited time. And so it's totally understandable that people are focused on that practical stuff, but bringing in the fun makes that practical stuff, I don't know, like not worthwhile, but you're able to accomplish it because the family's like, oh, this is so awful, but we do these fun things too. So like, I will suffer through this awful thing. And the same thing with volunteers. Like, I will suffer through this awful thing because we're going to go to the beach or we're going to have a pool party or something. And it really, really, really does go a really long way for the family to feel like this is their home.
Yeah.
So I just want to chime in with that.
Yeah. And I would add to that it also builds trust between you and the family and you. And sometimes you're wanting to opine politely and give some advice. And if they don't know you and they don't feel close to you, that advice might not land as well. And that's an important part of this, is being able to help them navigate life and guide them in a way that feels respectful and is well received. So I think that's really important. So we have a lot of teams with a lot of different needs. And I think sometimes our teams are in like silos and they're not sure, is this normal? What's happening on my team? Are the needs of my family normal? So we're going to switch over to that a little bit and talk about a few different topics. Can you just tell us the types of need that your matched family had?
So at first we were really focused on the mother. She had a lot of health needs at the very beginning. So we got her set up with an OBGYN and all the appointments for that. I took her to 2 or 3 appointments. Helene took her to 1, and every single one were very long, kind of like what Kristen just said, right? Like we kind of suffer through, we get through it, but we end up having fun with something else. But that was one of the big things we accomplished at first. And then next was school for the kids. We really wanted to try and get them in at the end of the school year. So like the month of April and May, but it just was taking so long. And so that didn't work out. And then we worked really hard on trying to get them enrolled in a summer program. And big kudos to Helene. She was a big piece of that to get us, get them enrolled, which was great. And then making sure that their registration and immunizations and all the paperwork for school for the fall was ready to go as well. And then for the father, we wanted to make sure he was able to get a job very quickly. Pretty sure he got it on his own. I'm not sure actually. I think when we first started working with him, he already had the job. He had a bike. He was able to get to and from work. But then Satara, kudos to her and her husband Julius, they were able to help. Those are two other volunteers in our group. They were able to help get him set up with a bank account and a direct deposit, and then also automated pay for all their bills and their rent. And then we also did kind of talk about, them being able to access food or other expenses and other donated items if they needed them. I was able to get them connected with the Coconut Grove Food Pantry. So they would get a bag of donated food, halal, once a week. And then I know, Lonnie, you were able to get a sewing machine donated since the mother loves to sew and do things like that. Anything else? Go ahead, Lonnie.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed.
Yeah, no, you covered most everything, like the in-person English classes, right? I think you might have said that. Internet setup, I think you mentioned, bank. At one point they wanted to move, and that was a discussion we had to have, like showing why it was best to stay put, especially in the Miami housing market. And just helping them like understand why they should stay. Yeah, kids, dental, we were working on enrolling them in school, insurance issues. Yeah, I think the main thing was like insurance issues and finding providers.
And then another big need that came later and just happened this summer was getting their marriage documentation. And again, huge shout out. Kudos to Helene. She helped a lot with that.
Yeah.
We're laughing because there was a lot that went into it.
Yeah.
But that was great. They accomplished that,
Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
You all have dealt with a lot, and I think it sounds overwhelming maybe, and it could be frustrating, but you all seem to be so positive and congratulatory of each other. What is the key to that success? Managing all of those needs, all of these challenges, the biggest one we haven't even talked about yet, and doing it with a good disposition that is congratulatory of each other.
I would say I hand that to Taylor. She's half my age and she's so positive and has the best outlook on life, and just I learned a lot from her. I had some personal home stuff going on and that I would sometimes bring in negative energy, but Taylor would rein it back in. And again, I just learned a lot from her leadership style. I'm very grateful.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Lonnie. Thanks. I guess being resilient is the key to this. And again, any return Peace Corps volunteers in the room gonna get this. Resiliency is key in any volunteer position that you hold, whether that's, with a food pantry in your local community, whether that's, with Peace Corps, an international community you're working with, or something local at home, because you're going to run into so many obstacles. I think having the expectation that it's going to be hard and it's going to be rough actually makes it easier in the long run, because then you get through the hard obstacles, you get through those things, and then you come out the other side as a successful group, and you're able to do those fun things that we mentioned earlier. And you know that you're helping a family that has these needs. And so I guess, and that's just how I live my life, trying to see the positive side of things, which, is very good, but also can be kind of a downfall sometimes, but always just trying to live with a positive outlook, and always knowing that, if it doesn't work out, we can ask, there's going to be a plan B. If that doesn't work, plan C. If that doesn't work, we can try and figure out a plan D, but there's always going to be a different way of trying to, get done what we need to get done.
Yes, and I think our team just all wanted the best for our families and had the best intentions for our families. And, sometimes those hiccups, to Taylor's point, just, that's part of life and they happen. So there was some things with their insurance and appointments that would get messed up. And that's, again, like Taylor said, just part of the journey. So.
Thank you. I noticed that Satara has joined the call. Satara, can you give me a thumbs up if you'd like to be part of the discussion? No pressure. And Helene, if you're listening and also want to chime in, please give me a thumbs up so I can know that it's okay to call on you. But my next question does include Satara, even if she's not able to talk right now. It can be hard not to default to the interpreter on your team, because it's so much easier to just be like, hey, can you call them and do this? And hey, can you figure out this? And then the family gets close with the interpreter and the interpreter maybe gets a little burned out and overwhelmed. You use Tarjimly, the interpretation app that RAA advises and teaches. And you also had your amazing interpreters, Satara, and also sometimes her husband, Julius. How did you keep from going to the end of the continuum where you defaulted to Satara all the time? Because she's wonderful and it would have been really easy to do that.
I think for me, just being able, actually being able to communicate with the family, with the mother one-on-one, without Satara, without an interpreter, was really good for building our relationship. And so I think I kind of forced myself and forced the mother and I to do that, so that we could have a relationship without having Satara there every single time or Satara on the phone. So I was just thought about that, like, okay, yes, I can default to Satara sending the message or doing it for us, or me calling. And like, we did do that a lot. I will say that. Guilty as charged. But, as time went on, I think just being able to do that communication and having Tarjimly and sometimes Google Translate did help form a better relationship with the mother and the rest of the family. And then using English too, and they were teaching me Pashto. That's the way we kind of communicated, which was really interesting and fun also.
Thanks, Taylor. Lonnie, anything you want to add about that delicate balance of language and interpretation?
Yeah, I think Taylor explained it really well. I think I will say too, just how grateful we were to Satara and Julius, because they did do a lot. I mean, and they were personally involved in a lot of issues and hard conversations. So just really thankful for them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So your family went through what I can say as someone who's been, oh, Kristen, you have a question?
I was just going to ask quickly before we move on, Lonnie and Taylor, I think, and Helene, I know you all have personalities where you are willing to try to communicate with somebody who doesn't speak your language, but we have some other volunteers who feel a lot more shy about that, almost to the point where it feels like debilitating to try to speak with the family without an interpreter, which is why sometimes a lot ends up falling on the interpreter. So I'm just curious what kind of advice you would give to somebody who feels like so nervous to try to communicate. Of course, not communicate like the most essential things. There are some things that really do require an interpreter, but how to kind of overcome that nervousness or that barrier of like, oh my, I can't communicate with them.
I think just getting comfortable with using the app is very helpful.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Fall back on your resources. Go ahead, Helene.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention. So when Satara left town and she wasn't there for us to rely on, it forced me to learn how to use Google Translate. And I'm older, so it's harder to get used to those things. But I can remember it was good to see other people's interactions and how you were interacting with the family, because it was a real struggle for me. We had long silences when I was taking Ozma places, or sorry, Our Lady some places in the car. So giving us an opportunity to learn from each other. And if the younger people help the older people with the tools, that helped also.
Thanks, Celine. Yeah, everyone's going to bring different skills, right? Not everyone's going to take easily to the Tarjimli app. And so we need to help each other out for sure. Yeah. Okay, so your family went through what I would say is one of the most difficult challenges of any of the families RAA has worked with to date, without mentioning what that particular, like, I don't want to name that very personal struggle that they have, but is there anything you can tell us about how your team dealt with this challenge, and what did you learn with having to deal with it? Where did you turn? What did you learn? How did you deal? Because it was really rough.
Oh, does Satara want to speak?
Hey everyone.
Hi,
Sorry,
Satara.
I completely forgot about you guys. Just a quick update on the Tarjumli. I came into the middle of the Zoom meeting. Tarjumli is a good app. It helps you, but again, as a Pashto speaker, majority of these guys I did not understood. Whenever I would set up an app for family, look, if you get stuck somewhere, this is what you do. Either the actual person that you can't get in touch with, they cannot understand your Pashto, or they would or the person who speaks Pashto here, one of the refugee family, couldn't understand theirs. So there's a big challenge how to get connect with the right person. And again, what Helene and Taylor did, just communicating through hands and signs and signals, they did an amazing job. I mean, especially Taylor, I was surprised how much she could communicate with the kids and Asma.
Again, sorry, I keep talking about Peace Corps, but in my service, I actually lived with an Indigenous family, and they spoke an Indigenous language. And that's how I communicated, a lot of facial expressions and hand movements to get my point across. But thank you, Satara. And Jamie, if you want, I can jump into that next question.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very hard situation. The mother and father were, going through something really tough. And for us, what we fell back on was, again, our resources. So RAA, we looped you and Kristen in, and we really just took the advice that you had for us, and then really just took your guidance, which helped a lot, because, we were talking amongst ourselves before we brought it to your attention, and we were, especially Satara, she really didn't know what was the right thing to do, and she felt uncomfortable. Satara, if you want, you can chime in and discuss that a little bit more too, without giving the whole thing away. But I think being able to reach out to the leaders of this organization helped us out a lot, and you gave us the correct guidance. And it was tough, moving forward, we couldn't work on those needs that the family had as quickly as we wanted to. And we just had to be patient and try and understand the situation as best we could, and just stay together as a group, and again, just follow your guidance.
Thanks, Taylor.
I mean,
And just a reminder that we are recording, so not to name the issue or the names of the clients, please.
of course.
Go ahead, Satara.
With the family, just with my situation, just because this was my very first being a volunteer at any organization, I would always reach out to either Jamie or Taylor or whenever I could ask my husband for an advice, that's how I went forward. Another thing is don't get too emotional, which I did in the beginning, and then I kind of calmed myself down. This wasn't about me. I needed to help them out and get from a point A to point B. That's how it should be done. If you don't understand, my advice is to reach out, ask for an advice, you know, don't be shy and don't be embarrassed. And then if you think something's going wrong and you see this is not right, also, of course, the same thing, speak out about it. Do not keep it yourself.
Mhm. Thank you, Satara. Yes, that is what we're here for. We can't get into the day-to-day with the teams because we're onboarding and training and supervising and all of that, the teams, but we are absolutely here to redirect you to the resources, to chat, and then to troubleshoot these really hard things. So I'm glad you came to us. Helene, your hand is up. What would you like to add?
Yeah, for me, it helped to step back from the situation and realize that what they're saying might not really be what represents their long-term problem or whatever, you know. And these were very young people who had just been through a very traumatic situation, and we couldn't always take everything they said at face value. We had to kind of step back and wait to evaluate to see if this is really what they mean, because they were going back and forth on what they wanted to do about their issues. And you know, if I were a 22, 24-year-old person who had just had to leave my homeland, I'm not sure I'd be rational all the time. And I'm not sure we can expect them to be totally rational all the time either.
That's an excellent point. It's why we talk about trauma-informed care in training, and it's why we have a licensed clinical social worker on staff, because even those of us who have done this before, or Peace Corps volunteers who have so much experience, or people like Lonnie who've been involved with many families, we do not always know. Yeah, and we need guidance, and we did call in professionals for this situation beyond RAA. Yeah, Lonnie, thank you for that. Helene, Satara, Taylor. Lonnie, do you want to add anything about this question?
No, I just think it was on this issue, it really did bring our team closer together because we wanted to figure it out with the help from you guys and everyone. And yeah, that's all I have to add. Again, sorry for the brain fog, you guys.
You're doing great. Yeah, I get it. I had it. It was very odd. Okay, so it is getting increasingly common that our families are moving right now. For the Afghans, you know, there are multiple reasons. One is that there are actually bigger groups of Afghans in other places in the US. And so they understandably, if they don't have any family or good friends here, sometimes they want to move. Sometimes it's simply job related because someone found them something somewhere else. But the vast majority of the time, it's because of the housing, the cost of housing and rent in Miami. And your family is one of those families who had great contacts, both Afghan and American here, great support system, and have decided to move. So can you let us know how you feel about this, and how did you help them to prepare?
Sure, I'll start and then Taylor can finish. I think it really personally caught me off guard, and how I understand like if things happen quickly, but I mean, they're flying out on Monday morning. Helene and I can't even say goodbye because we have COVID. So that kind of sucks. But
Yeah.
and I think it makes me a little nervous. Kristen put us in touch with some great contacts out there that's already Taylor and Julius and Star already got the ball rolling and with emailing them. So that's amazing and somewhat of a comfort. And Lincoln, Nebraska, it seems like a great place for refugees, like a very welcoming city. I get nervous just because the father can be kind of all over the place sometimes. And I feel like, I don't know if he really thought everything through. So again, that makes me just a little bit nervous. I want to make sure that he does get the job that, he said he's going to get, that his friends are really going to help him once they land on Monday. Is he really getting the apartment? These are all just things that kind of concern me.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with everything Lonnie said. All the concerns she has are the concerns I have, and I think we've all kind of talked about that. We had a group Zoom meeting a few nights ago, and we discussed all these things as well. I feel sad for the situation. I mean, it's not a super shock, or I'm not like super surprised, because yes, there have been other families, other groups that have experienced the same thing. And we could tell that, it was hard. It's hard for a family that's not, low income family, not even from the United States, to live in Miami. I mean, it's a very expensive city to live in. It's hard for us that are working to live here. So it totally makes sense. The rent will be cheaper, living will be cheaper, and hopefully, and it seems like there will be a little more support and aid compared to here as well. But yeah, I'm sad, especially for the kids, because we did create such a strong relationship and got to know them really well. And we were excited to see them learn English and get to school. And I envisioned in my head, like, oh my gosh, a year from now, they're going to be a little more grown and maybe even know like English, we'll be able to talk to each other. So I was excited to see that development. And now we'll just have to see it at a distance. Luckily, I'm from in the Midwest, so maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, we can go visit them. Little road trip to Nebraska. I don't know, but same thing. Like, I'm a little worried. Both the parents are a bit irrational sometimes, and I just hope that they can find a group that will support them, like we were able to support them. And I know the mother feels really sad and very nervous about the situation too, and she feels, she created friends here. We've become friends, and she's scared that she won't create those same relationships or find the same thing in Nebraska. And I told her, you're going to the Midwest. You got to find at least someone there. I'm from the Midwest, Helene too. So there's got to be one good one, I promise. So we'll see, hopefully. And yeah, I'm excited to stay in touch with them, hopefully through WhatsApp. But Satara, Helene, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, everything Lonnie and Taylor said, I'm nervous for them. I'm also excited for them. But as Lonnie said, I can't, it's nerve-wracking. It takes a lot of time and effort to move to a place where you need to do a research and to know if you can get a job there and how are you going to survive. This family that you're waiting for, how reliable are they to help you? These are a few things I don't think the husband have thought about it much, but he's just going in and he thinks he can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not even sleep last night. Every time I opened my eyes, I would think about them. Just Christine knows, we're both in the military. It takes about 6 months for us to move from one place to another place, and then moving to that place, how much we need to prepare ourselves into, especially a place where you don't understand the language, you don't know anyone there, you don't have a family. You just go in, and for them, it's going to be a tough move to do it. But if they stay here, it's going to be also tough for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you mentioned, Satara, they might not understand. They might not know what they don't know. Because how could you? I couldn't if I moved to their country. And RA has a jobs program, and we did help M get his job. And so he might not understand, because it's not important that he knows who helped him, just that he got the job. He might not understand, and he might have an unrealistic expectation of getting a job quickly or other things, like you said. So it is hard to step back and give the family the autonomy they deserve, while also pointing out the things that can really be challenging. Did you want to add anything, Helene?
Yeah, I will really miss those kids. They are so sweet, and we just had such a good time together. But I think it's unrealistic to expect that you could support yourself as a dishwasher in Miami with our So it would be nice if the people could land in a place where there's stronger government support systems. We really don't have support systems in the state of Florida, and a place where they could get some better jobs. So I, from a financial perspective, I think this is the right move for them, but I'm also concerned about them finding a new support network there, and I'll miss them personally.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I have one final question before I want to open it up to the audience to ask questions. What would you say to people who are considering forming a community sponsorship team with RAA to help a refugee family? Should they do it? Should they not? What should they know?
I'll say what I say to people that are interested in Peace Corps. Do it. It's a great opportunity to learn about your community, and about a different community, an international one. Like I said, I was learning a little bit of Pashto, which I never thought I would do in the city of Miami. And it's a great way to help people. That's what RAA is doing. These people are coming from a completely different place. They don't know anything about the United States, and you can help them, give them the guidance that they need, and really use your skills that you have, to help a family that really needs it. So I'd say do it.
I agree with Taylor, and I think moving to Miami in general is a hard place to move to. So being able to help these families and make friends with them and support them, and just be with the kids, they're so sweet. And it's also very eye-opening too. You see kind of what's wrong with our systems here in the United States, especially around healthcare and insurance and things like that. So that's been very eye-opening.
Sure. Satara, Helene?
Yeah, it was a challenge for us, all these college graduates, trying to help them through the medical care system and stuff. And I can't imagine a refugee family having to deal with this on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most frustrating things was the medical care, and that you'd finally get an appointment, you take them there, and then the next time you go, they'd say, oh, your insurance changed and now it's not covered anymore. And it's just maddening. We definitely need to overhaul our healthcare system in this country, make it single payers or whatever, so you can just go someplace and get the care that you need without having to deal with all this red tape. But
Yeah,
it's a worthwhile experience to understand you get a much better insight into what our country is really like, and when you can see it through the eyes of people who are just arriving here. So it's an educational experience, and it's also very heartwarming experience to get to know these people.
Yeah. To comment on what you and Lonnie said, when Kristen started RAA, she went to someone's home to teach them English, and that was the goal. But she quickly learned that you can't just sit down with someone and expect them to focus on English if they don't understand their mail, or they need to go to the doctor, or their kids need something. So helping a family is all the things that you just said, including the healthcare system. And I don't know how they would do it without volunteers like the ones who are here today. Satara, did you want to mention what do you think about people forming a
of course, everyone that's a yes, just like Taylor said, yes to everything. If you don't get into an organization, you will not know how our country runs. You will know how hard it is to get Medicare, any kind of support, financial support that you can get from our government. It's tough for everyone, but then for those who comes in and they have no support, no help, I cannot even imagine a day living a life that they have. So it's frustrating. And of course, for them to move to a different state, I'm sure there's going to be more help. They will get a lot more support there too. Probably more government help.
Thank you, Satara.
Sorry, my internet is keep dropping. So everything that Taylor and Helene said, that everything 100%. And of course, we're gonna miss the kids so much. My kids finally found some friends here, and they're moving out, so it's tough.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I wanted to open up for questions from any of the other volunteers or staff who are here. Things you want to ask this amazing community sponsorship team?
I have a quick question. So my family is planning on moving to Virginia in 2 months. And, we've faced a lot of similar challenges with healthcare as well, navigating the system and just a bunch of different things. So I was wondering if someone can elaborate on the part where you spoke about finding a community where your family is going to be to help them over there. So what was that process like?
So I'll start this. Satara, if your internet is working, I think you should definitely talk more on this too. What we understand is the father pretty much decided everything for the family. And he kind of just told us what the situation was. So there wasn't really time for us, to research and figure out the best next place and the best next community for them to move to. He kind of just said, hey, this is the opportunity I have to get this job in this place in Nebraska. And I have some friends that may be able to house us. So that's what we're doing. Help us book flights and pack up and things like that. So that was the situation. And I think it's a great plan that your family has to move in 2 months rather than, a week, like they told us literally earlier this week, and literally leaving on Monday. So that's really good. I'd say you're already going down the right path with actually having a plan.
100%, Taylor. The majority of our families who've moved have brought it up and left within 2 weeks. And we have this bullet point list that we send out to every team to help their family think through, how to talk to your landlord, how to talk to your boss, that you can take your car seats and strollers for free on the plane, things like that. And we barely have time to get it out before the family moves. So that is amazing, Catherine, that you've got time.
Catherine is the lucky one. She can plan this with our family. We just got to know it was basically like, okay, like we had experience with another family, but that wasn't our family, so we didn't really get to experience the real trauma. With this one, I could recommend you this. So all of these families, since I can kind of get you the background, all of these families have families somewhere. I would recommend to go to a place where they know someone there. They can help them out. They have to know if they go to a place where you have to make them understand that they are going to be paying for almost everything out of their pocket when they do this move. They need to have enough cash on hand. And then when they move to a different place, are they going to be able to buy a car, do this and do that? We have 2 families that my husband and I got to talk to them, and they stayed for another year just to save the money here, enough as much as you can, buy your car, you have your license, and then do a drive if you go. And go to a place where you know a family. You can't just go to a place where you heard this is good, you can do this. And of course, when they come to Miami, those who got to Miami wasn't their choice. They were put here by the government. Their first choice was either California or Texas, where, they knew the most about that 2 states, or Virginia actually too. But again, they need to know where they're going to be going, how much the living cost is going to be. Do they have a family there to support until they get there? Because even if they don't get financial help anymore, they still need to have a caseworker to have food aid and, of course, healthcare. So these are the things they have to understand. How much they're going to be spending on the airport, how long in advance they should be booking their tickets. Unlike our family, they should be able to book their tickets at least 2 to 3 weeks in advance, which will make them save at least $1,200 to $1,300. Our family spent about $2,400 for one-way tickets to Nebraska yesterday, which broke my heart in pieces. So I would recommend to talk to them. That includes airplane tickets, how much it will cost them if they decide right away that this is what they're going to do. within 4 days or 2 days. So let them, show them, if they don't understand, show them the tickets. Hey, if you do this, this is how much it's going to cost you this week. But then if you do it in 3 weeks, this is how much it's going to cost you.
Thank you, Satara, for all that advice. I did want to chime in and say that unfortunately, resettlement benefits do not transfer. So resettlement benefits include the caseworkers and the funding. So obviously, benefits that you can get in other states would be SNAP, WIC, Medicaid. There are other benefits that you can find in different states and you have to reapply, but your actual refugee resettlement benefits will not transfer. So we do not advise that families leave before their benefits are up. But text us, Catherine, and we'll send you the full list of advice for how to deal with a family that wants to move.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
I just wanted to chime in too and say that, as Satara mentioned, the majority of families know people in other places and that's where they're going, which is good. And we encourage them to go somewhere that they know someone, just like Satara said. But we also all know that those people can't work miracles. We have had some families move and they're already telling us like, oh my God, I thought I was going to get a job from my brother-in-law and he can't get me a job. And what am I doing? And why did I leave? Of course, it's their decision, but this is all just to say we are part of a national network of organizations very similar to RAA, doing work to support newly arrived refugees. And so that is the network I reached out to and found out that we had a partner in Lincoln, Nebraska. So if your family is moving somewhere, please do let me know. We had some families move to Sacramento and I also put them in touch with an organization there. So at least, we know it's not all falling on their relative or whoever, but there is an established organization that can hopefully help support.
Yeah, excellent point. Just keep in touch with us about all of that. All right, any other questions? Anything you're going through with your family that you want to ask for some advice or feedback on? Is there anything else that the team would like to tell us? Anything I didn't ask, but you think would be helpful for people to know about this work? Either people who just started or people who are thinking about starting?
Yeah, I would like to tell everyone, for those who works with the new refugee from Afghanistan, please go ahead and talk to them ahead of the time, even they haven't told you that they will be moving out. I can guarantee you almost 99% of the refugees that are settled here will move out at some point. Talk to them ahead. Tell them, if you're planning, please let us know. We can help you out. But do not plan something in a rush. Do not plan it today and move out tomorrow. Give yourself time. Think about something before you do it. They will do it at some point. So why not talk to them before? This is what I think we should have done it from the beginning, because this wasn't their choice. Miami is very expensive to be staying, and they all of them, pretty much all of them, have kids. So both parents can't really work. One can work and one is not enough to be working here in Miami.
Thank you. Any other closing thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to quickly just say thank you so much to the team. Yeah, again, just super sad that they're leaving. I was gone for a lot of the summer. I know Helene also traveled, so I was looking forward to continuing working with them through the fall. So it's kind of a bummer, but.
I would just say a piece of advice, try and learn about the country's culture or history or some type of aspect of the socioeconomic, whatever that may look like. It'll just give you a better understanding of where your family is coming from. We were, again, very lucky to have Satara, who lived in Afghanistan, so she had firsthand experience. I also read a book on it. There was a training that was sent out, and I went through that, and just like having at least like a baseline understanding of where the families are coming from. And I know RAA does a really good job too, sending out resources, but don't ignore those resources. Go through them, read through them. And then there's also a great Google Doc full of resources too. Here I'm putting a plug in for you both that has a lot of great things that'll help you out throughout the process. And try and get yourself someone on your team that loves organization like Lonnie and spreadsheets and things, because I do not like those things. So I'm very, very grateful that we had Lonnie the whole time. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss the family, but definitely excited to continue working with RAA. And I know multiple people, I think everyone on our group, on our team wants to continue in some way. So we will be letting Kristen and Jamie know later about that.
Yay, that is so wonderful. And thank you for the plug about our training and our resources. We are always trying to do better. Those of you that have been around like Lonnie for a long time, you've seen us morph and morph again and morph. We're always trying to do better. We love the feedback. We do actually have some good resources now that we didn't have 2-3 years ago. So please just ask us if you're not sure where they are. And we are always trying to make them more easily accessible. We're moving them onto the website now. There's going to be a CST toolkit on the website soon instead of in the Google Drive. So we think that will be better. But yeah, thanks, Taylor. Any other closing comments before we jump off?
Just thank you, everyone. Thank you for helping out. Without the teamwork, we couldn't have made it this far. That includes every single one. And of course, we love to continue to work with RAA.
Thank you, Satara. Thank you, everybody. Your team has been amazing. You are literally what makes this work able to happen. And with such love and care and organization to boot. So thank you all so much. Thank you for everybody who attended and listened today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye all.
Bye. Feel better.